You coming out for a hard hat tour of Cobra's Curse. It's something I can't even get our engineers to let me do. I haven't had a hard hat tour yet. I try to walk out there and they stop me always. So you're going to get a view of it today that I haven't really had yet, and I'm envious. So I might be lurking around the back of your tour group somewhere. But I want to share a couple of things with you. First of all, we're awfully excited about Cobras and the addition to our thrill ride portfolio. It's going to be a great family ride. And it adds to all the great rides. We've had great success with Cheetah a few years ago. Falcons the last year and a half has been just a great new attraction for us. Our guests have responded so favorably to it. I think this might be many people's favorite ride in our park, and I'm looking forward to its opening. It's coming along beautifully. As you can see out the window here, progress is right on track. So we're excited about what it's going to do for us for 2016. I'm here this morning to tell you about a couple of things, a couple of aspects of the ride that we haven't shared with you yet. One is that if you came by the front of Crown Colony outside, you saw the ride vehicle. It's a spinning ride vehicle. That's the first time that you have seen it. And it has some elements to it that our engineers are going to share with you this morning that are really unique. The first third of the ride, you're going to be locked going forward. The second third, and you go up the vertical lift, which is new for us, and it's a one-of-a-kind ride in the world. After you come off the vertical lift, you're going to be going forward like a traditional roller coaster. When you go through a block brake, it's going to spin your car and lock in a backwards position, and you're going to do the second third of the ride riding backwards, which I think is going to be very cool. You're going to go up a vertical lift, the second lift, in a backwards position, which you don't get a chance to do very often. And then at the top of that lift, it's going to brake free and spin freely. So based on the weight distribution in your car, it's going to spin differently every time you ride it. So the last third of the ride is a 360-degree spinning coaster, like you see the model outside. And Jeff Hornick is going to tell you much more about the mechanics of the ride and how it works, and you'll see that on your tour. The other great thing about what we're doing with Cobra's Curse is, as you snake your way through the cube building, and I use that word loosely, we didn't name it Cobra's Curse by accident. You're probably going to discover some snakes in the cube. And they're exotic snakes, and it's going to add an unbelievable experience to the queue as you go onto the ride platform. So look forward to seeing live animals in our queue building. It's something that our company does like nobody else. We combine our thrill rides with animals, and we add some education, talk about our conservation, and it's going to be thrilling to see these exotic snakes as you wind through the queue building getting on Cobra's Curse. So again, I thank you so much for coming this morning. There's a creative mind behind the story of Cobra's Curse, and at this point I'd like for Brian Morrow to come up and explain to us the story behind Cobras. Brian?
All right. It's like deja vu today, right? So I'm Brian Morrow. I'm the Vice President of Theme Park Experience Design for Busch Gardens Tampa here, and this is a real treat for our creative and our technical and our ride teams because we get to show you guys what we've been working on for like 3 years. This project has been a love child for most of us, fitting onto the site, creating a really detailed story experience, and figuring out how to incorporate real snakes into a queue line with this really incredible ride experience. So it's not only an incredible family thrill ride experience with unique ride attributes and a unique ride system design that no one else has, with 4 forward-facing seats that can go forward, backwards, and spin, but it's also tied and tangled with a very deep, rich storytelling history that we have not seen in this park in any coaster before. So today I'm going to share with you a lot of information on the tour about the story, the legacy, and just why the Snake King was buried over 2,000 years ago, and today's the day that we're putting the head back onto that statue, and we're invited to the top of the archaeological crane to take a view face to fang as that head reattaches, and we find out just what exactly is the curse of the Cobra. So on your tour today, we're going to go through detail of the ride system, the queue line experience, the story thread, and the narrative, and just why there's going to be an 85-foot tall Cobra standing in the middle of our park, which is on its way now from Orlando. And we'll give all that details to you guys. So it's a very exciting time. It's really the next generation of thrill rides here at Busch Gardens Tampa, and it really exemplifies what we're known for. Incredible ride experiences, highly integrated into the environment like they've been here forever and the park was built around them. Rides and animals tied together, and a story narrative that really fits the Egypt theme and appeals to a nice wide demographic so the whole family can ride together. So with that, we're going to go on a tour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hornick, I'm the Regional Director of Design and Engineering really excited to have you all here to share some more information about this ride experience and the rest of the round here. So we'll be able to stop at multiple locations so you guys get some great vantage points of the ride, and we'll unveil all of the different aspects of the ride experience in the queue as we go along. But as you guys saw when you walked up this really cool ride vehicle, we worked for a long time to create this experience, to make it a one-of-a-kind attraction for our guests. And you guys will hear one-of-a-kind and unique multiple times over. And this is a great example of the uniqueness of this attraction. For those of you who are familiar with spinning roller coasters, traditional spinning roller coasters, the riders will either face each other or face back to back. But as part of the storyline for this ride, if you're riding in a mine car, we want everybody to face forward. So all of our ride vehicles have all of the guests facing forward, and it also allows us to unveil this ride in chapters. So as Jim mentioned, the first third of the ride you're going forwards, the second third of the ride you're going backwards, and then for the finale of the ride, you're free spinning. So we work very closely with the ride manufacturer to make sure that we can make that accomplished. So this vehicle itself has an onboard motor system that will be able to rotate it while you're on the ride, and we're also able to lock it in those different positions. So lots of very, very highly technical engineering aspects that make this ride and this train very unique. Now the trains themselves, they're on 2x2, so each one of these cars is attached and coupled to a train. So 2 cars per train, 4 people per car, that means 8 people per train. We have 8 trains on this ride path, and each one of them will have its own unique color treatment as well. So you'll be able to pick which train you want to go on, and they're all lots of fun, varied colors and cool textures as well. So another aspect about this ride that's a lot of fun is that we only have a lap bar restriction. So that always makes the ride much more engaged and much more fun, and be able to have your upper body free to enjoy all of the free spinning and all of the action. So the ride vehicles themselves have this motion base, be able to spin and be able to lock in those different positions, but it also allows us to create this very unique experience in this storyline as well. So when we say Cobra's Curse, we're actually unveiling the curse on our guests, which makes the ride more and more wild as you go through. Now, the other unique aspect about a spinning roller coaster is that every single time it's different. If you have a different type of loading on the vehicle, it'll be either a crazy spinning motion or it may just be a free sliding motion. So if you take a linebacker and put them on one corner and a cheerleader on the other, it'll be a crazy spinning ride. But if you have it very evenly distributed, you have a little bit more of a sliding maneuver, almost sliding through the curves. That's actually more fun for me. I actually enjoy that type of an experience myself. So it's a highly repeatable experience. Every single time will be very unique. So you want to get back on the ride over and over again to experience the curves of the Cobra's Curse. Now, if you looked at the ride track from the air, it looks like a snake. It actually curves throughout the ride course. And the reason that we do that is to start that spinning motion forwards and backwards, and spinning rotate in different directions, which causes a wild ride experience and a lot of fun for our guests. So, overall, train experience is going to be amazing from the guest perspective, and we'll also be able to unveil a few of the other interesting aspects, technical aspects of the queue and the loading platform itself. So we'll talk about that as we proceed with the tour. But before we get to the station, we'll talk a little bit more about the snakes and the snakes in the queue. So we'll talk about, if you have any questions specifically about the train, we can talk about that here. Then we'd also like to continue with the tour to talk about the snakes and the other interesting aspects that we've got in the queue. Walking backwards, forwards, and free spin is something that we took a lot of time and a lot of energy from an engineering perspective to make sure that we got that right, to make the best experience possible for our guests.
If you wanted to, could you lock it backwards the whole ride?
If we wanted to, could we lock it backwards the whole ride? I guess we could if we really wanted to.
And you say that there's 2 cars for each train?
Yep, 2 cars per train.
2 cars, they're spinning on their own?
Yep.
So like the front car goes to the exact same spot?
Yeah, so that makes it even more fun. So each of the cars do have their own free spinning, so you'll be able to see each other and wave to each other as you're going through the ride course.
Jeff, from the engineering point of view, a lot of this is new. What's the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge for this ride, and what makes this ride a true Busch Gardens roller coaster, is that it's very highly integrated into the site. So as you see, when we walk through the rest of the ride course, you'll see that we've got a bunch of trenches that we've dug that this ride goes through. We've got the ride going over top of our train ride, underneath our train ride, highly integrated to the site and all of the architectural buildings that were currently existing over there. But that's what makes it a great ride, is that all of those near misses and all those experiences where we're getting as close as possible to all of those elements makes it an even more extreme type of a ride. We haven't talked about the height restriction for this ride. We can go ahead and mention that now. So this is a family thrill ride. The height restriction is 42 inches for our guests. And if you're between 42 inches and 48 inches, you must be accompanied by an adult. So anyone over 48 inches, you'll be able to ride alone.
Good. My name is Mike. I'm one of the zookeepers here in charge of some of the snakes in the area. So we're excited to kind of announce our new snake exhibit. It's going to be incorporated into the coaster. It kind of shows off our animal care skills as well as our coaster. So it kind of encompasses a lot of different areas. It's a numerous level display, so it's got the little ground feature, it's got a water feature, and it's got almost an arboreal feature. We're able to actually house 4 different species of snakes that should live harmoniously together, which is very cool. It's not something that very many other zoos have accomplished, so we're very excited to try and do that. It should work out great. We have 4 different species. We have the Angolan python. You can see some of our photos here. Something called the rhinoceros viper that is venomous. The gaboon viper, also venomous, and something called the Jameson's mamba, which a lot of people have heard of the mambas as well. So what we look for is to try and incorporate all the snakes into the different niches of the exhibit. We have the mamba that will solely hang out in the arboreal area, basically the tree level. We have the Angolan python that's kind of mid-level, should be very active, very moving around a lot. And then the vipers are on the ground level and should take up a lot of the ground space terrestrial area. So what we're looking for is to try and see how we can incorporate this into the entire exhibit area. And so far it's worked out very well. We do have one of our snakes on exhibit for you guys today. We have the gaboon viper. It's a male. He's about 6 years old. And all of them are doing pretty well. We have them on property already. And if you guys want to take a look at them, you're welcome to. So right now the exhibit's scheduled for about 400 cubic feet. So it's a pretty good size exhibit for these snakes. We look to see if we need to encompass more animals in there or less animals, and with time we'll kind of go from there.
So I'm going to go through these relatively quickly and concisely. If you want to get more information, come back or ask me more questions. I can dig into this. We have our book for the Crave is 74 pages long. And there's 12 characters and all kinds of bios that are in this thing, so I can give you all the information you want. But I'll go through this really quickly and then give you kind of a snapshot. All right, so in our creative development for the attraction, how this works in the park is that Montu was excavated back before 2000, and this is the next dig site on the Egypt area. And this dig site was legendary, was supposed to be home of a snake king that we knew nothing about. So the Vice Corporation, which is right here, which is our imaginary corporation that is the archaeological dig team, has shown up and they started excavating. And what they found is that there was a large icon here on this site that was over 85 feet tall and over 400 feet long. But that icon was missing its head. It was a big snake king, but it had been cut off and buried 2,000 years ago. So now the team is actually excavating, and these are some of the notes they've been sending back from their dig site, and it maps out the chambers that they found, the old offering plaza, and where the big snake icon was right here. And what they've done is they've built their living quarters, and they've also built a big crane. And the crane was actually kind of unfortunately built right on top of the ceremonial plaza, which doesn't really bode well for the people working here. So it's a little disrespectful. But this big crane, which is our icon for the ride, the vertical lift, is the elevator lift for the team to get to the top as they rise and put the head back onto the snake. So the day that guests come to our park will be the day that that head is going back on the snake, and we find out just exactly what the curse is about the Cobra. Moving through, this is the entry, was right behind us. This is the concept art for the entry. Pretty straightforward, quick queue, standby line, and our main ride icon. As the guests go through the queue, they'll first walk through the living quarters, if you will, which is a new extended exterior queue of the building to handle the volume of guests coming. So this area will talk about the snakes that they're finding inside as they dig through the dig site. So as they go deeper and deeper in the temple, they're kind of unraveling the way for the snakes and the spirit of the king snake to come back out of the temple. So the real snakes are coming in. So they keep finding snakes everywhere, which are the snakes that you'll actually meet out, throughout the queue line. But they keep showing up in the temple because they're kind of attracted to this power of this legendary snake king. And there's all kinds of information in here about why snakes are important to the wild, why snakes are dangerous, why some snakes aren't dangerous, and why they matter to us. And kind of unravel some of the myths of why people think snakes are so creepy and gross and make them really, what they are is really cool animals. Moving to the temple, we'll go to Chamber 1. So Chamber 1 has been partially restored. So the head has been placed back onto this snake icon. This is actually where you find the live snakes that are kind of really attracted to the power of these little icons of the original Snake King. And the guests will have a chance to take a look before the glass. It's got great water features, and it's one of the most beautiful snake exhibits I've ever seen. So it's a big treat for all of us. So moving deeper in the temple, we actually come across Chamber 2, which is the problem. So Chamber 2 starts to unravel what we actually are starting to learn about the Snake King. So this chamber will use a series of lighting, sound, wind, and projection effects to actually make the chamber come alive. So our Snake King icon here will actually come alive with 3 different shows that explain the history of him, his followers that used to follow him and adore him, but then they turned on him and cut off his head to remove his power. So all that will be shown as this Snake King spirit comes back to life, comes onto the central icon here, disperses around the room, and brings all the hieroglyphics to life that tell the story of how this all went down 2,000 years ago. That spirit then disappears into a crack, which heads towards the ceremonial plaza, which is our ride station, and we just go get on our ride vehicle and pretend we didn't see any of the warnings not to go. Right? Something goes terribly wrong. And then we get on our ride vehicle, and the first show seen on the ride is actually the snake momatorium. So this is where the snakes were really sacred to these folks. This is where the snakes were actually mummified at the level of other tombs and kings within Egypt. So we pass through here. We get a little hint that these guys can also have some secret powers as we pass by them. And that spirit of our Snake King travels through these guys onto the vertical lift, follows us up top, follows us all the way to the icons that come face to bang, and that curse travels from our icon onto our ride vehicle and sends us on our roller coaster ride around the job site. That is Cobra's curse story in a nutshell. Right? So you guys can grab photos of all these guys all you want. If you have more questions, I'll be here. But
how y'all doing? Good. Good. My name is Mark Rose. I'm a vice president here at Busch Gardens. Question for y'all. Who was here 20 years ago when we opened Egypt? Just a couple of you? Well, when we were designing Egypt, we did not plan for a Cobra's curse at the time. When we opened Egypt, it changed the dynamics of Busch Gardens, and people kind of came into the park and turned right, heading to Montu. Who likes Montu? Woo! A great ride. Over time, Shikra got built in the back, other things came in, so less people in Egypt. But Cheetah Hunt reinvigorated this corner of the park, and of course, Cobra's curse is going to knock it out of the park. What we do, and have done over the decades here at Busch Gardens, is integrate our rides, integrate our shows, integrate our animal attractions as if they were master planned from 1959. Instead, since 1959, we've had a brewery and a bird garden, and we have evolved over that time. We started with Touch 2, which was a 1996 walkthrough attraction, and we decided, let's grab this building that's air-conditioned and have an air-conditioned queue in Florida. That's a big thing for us because all of us that wait in lines would like to be air-conditioned, and let's put that show on. So we grabbed that asset, and of course we had the pylon building here. Off to our north is that very calm belt with our animals. How do we integrate a ride between the belt and touch tune and make it look like it was always here. What you will see and what you will experience when you ride Cobra's Curse is something that looks like it was always meant to be. Jeff Hornick earlier this morning talked about how from above it looks like a snake that's coiled around. From below, as you walk through, you will see something that's integrated into the sidewalks, into the train ride, and into the vistas. It looks like it was always meant to be. Just like on many of our rides, we have things going over and under. That's what you'll also experience here. As you come out of the station and go up that vertical lift, you'll get some magnificent views of the belt and of Montu. As you go out into the belt, you'll see what we did to integrate it into the site. And then as you come into the block break and turn backwards, as Jeff revealed this morning, you'll get another great view of the belt. As you come up the incline lift and finally go to spinning, you'll go into trenches, you'll go over people's heads, you'll finally dip under the train tracks and come serpentining back to the loading station. The things that we've always done very well, I think that you'll give us another A+ on how we've done this with Cobra's Curse. I can't wait for y'all to ride it. I can't wait for us to finally back out of the site, put those last few pieces of track together, but this is going to be an awesome ride. Y'all have any questions?
So the question came up, is this an area that's not going to be a guest area when we open up, right? Because you feel like you're right in the middle of the ride restricted area. But no, you're actually standing where guests will be able to stand when we open up this ride. So another key aspect about this attraction is that we've got it highly integrated for a non-rider experience. So guests who aren't on the ride or have loved ones on the ride, they'll be able to get up and close and personal and see their family and friends enjoying the ride from a multiple vantage points throughout the ride course. So right here, you guys are standing in the middle of Cobra's Curse. I'll do my best to explain the ride itself as it unravels throughout the experience. So behind me, to my left, we've got the station. And one aspect that we didn't talk about the station from a design standpoint is that we wanted to get as close to 1,000 people an hour capacity. So we've got a moving walkway station. So as the ride vehicles come into the station, they never stop. They'll constantly be moving throughout the station. So guests will unload and load as we're moving slowly. Another unique design aspect of this ride is that we have an ADA switch track. So guests who need a little bit more time to be able to get on the ride, we can take a segment of track, slide it over, and give guests as much time as they need to get on the ride. Once they get onto the train, we'll slide the track back, and then they'll go on their journey. So all of those aspects we've designed into the loading procedures for this ride so we can get as high a capacity as possible, which equals lower wait time for our guests and makes everyone very happy. So once you get on the ride train, the first thing you'll see and experience is our vertical lift. We'll take you up nearly 70 feet up into the air, which is an epic way to start this ride experience. This works much in the way of an outdoor elevator. We've got 2 ride vehicles at a time on the elevator, and they transfer themselves going up one versus the other. So you'll see that segment of track, you see the one up at the top, there's also an equivalent one at the bottom. Those cross each other and counterbalance each other to bring each up from the bottom to the top of the ride. Once you get up 70 feet up in the air, you'll be face to face with our 80-foot snake icon. You can see the base of our snake icon. The first 3 segments have been assembled so far. There's 9 segments in total. And let me tell you, I've seen the head that they're fabricating in Orlando, and it's massive. It is huge. It's impending. It's going to be amazing when we put that on the very top. We expect to be able to assemble the rest of the snake icon by the end of this month. So you'll be able to see what riders will see as they're going through the ride course. So as we lift you up into the air, we'll propel you forward towards the snake's mouth. And the first unique element for this ride is that we've got an outward bank turn that turns you into the snake's mouth, snake icon mouth, as you start your journey. So you'll be going right through the fangs before you drop on the ride. So it's a great way to start this very unique ride experience. The drop, we'll be heading north towards our belt. You'll head straight down and a hard-shaped turn, and then you'll connect back up to that segment of track that's empty over there. Still going forward, you'll take a bank turn to the left, spiral into our block brake. Our block brake segment is where it will spin you backwards. So you'll be constantly moving through the block brake. At the same time, we'll rotate you and then lock you into the backwards position. So this tight spiral here is the backwards segment of track. So you can see just how much crazy track we've got there, right? I mean, that's very twisted, and it's going to be a really fun experience, especially when you're going backwards, not able to see where you're headed. Then you'll travel up our incline lift backwards. So if anybody's ever done that before, it's a very unique experience. So let me tell you, I've done that a few different times, and it's very fun. It also gets you some great views of Montu. So as you're going up, you can see how close it gets to Montu. So from the ride on Montu makes it much more exciting because you've got this other track right next to you, and then as you're inclining up the lift, you can get the great views of the rest of the Cobra's Curse track and Montu. And then as you leave the incline lift, that's when the wild, crazy fun starts of the free spinning, the free spin finale. So you'll drop out of this vertical, or this incline lift, and down into our first trench. We've got 3 trenches on the ride, so you'll be spinning down this trench behind you, spinning up overhead of the guest pathway, back down into our second trench, over a bank turn to the right, over top of our train, and then underneath our train. And we've got serpentine curves in a trench underneath the train track, just to cause you to do lots of crazy spin, lots of fun as the grand finale for the ride. So the pace for this ride gets more and more intense all the way up to the very end. It's relentless. It won't let go. It's a lot of fun for the guests, and a crazy experience. Definitely one of a kind. Like I mentioned before, since it's a free spinning roller coaster, every time you ride will be different. So depending on how the train vehicles are loaded will cause you to spin wildly, mildly, or somewhere in between. So it'll make guests want to go over and over again. So you can see how tight this ride is, right? It feels like you're right up against all of the buildings and right up against where we're standing right now. We did that on purpose. Anytime you've got all of those close buildings and near misses, it makes the ride feel that much more exciting and that much faster. So you'll be able to see as you walk through this realm how close and how many cool vantage points you can take your photos. My favorite spot of the entire ride is standing right here looking up top. So this would be a great place for your selfies, taking pictures of the riders while they're enjoying the ride. So otherwise, some other great views. You'll be able to see the Velt, which is on the other side of that equipment over there. So I've been to the top of this vertical lift, and it's a great view. It's a great way to start the ride. It's very photogenic, and it's just really pretty while you're up there. So, as Mark mentioned, we have a few more weeks left of being able to assemble the rest of the track. We've got a lot of work ahead of us in the queue experience. Brian mentioned just how highly themed that's going to be, and great storyline behind it. So we've got a lot of work ahead of ourselves for us to be able to release this ride on our guests this summer. But we're very excited about you guys coming out here and being able to enjoy the experience. What questions do you guys have?
What is the speed going to be specifically in the third part when you're free spinning?
The top speed for the ride is 40 miles per hour, so that is going to be the first drop. This one will be a little bit less than that point, but the most fun aspect of that second drop is going to be the free spinning, because you never know which direction you're going to head as you're falling down.
What are you facing? This is the backward segment.
Yep.
Facing left.
Yeah, so the second backward segment is this crazy mixed up segment of track here, and then going up the second incline road. So that's when you get some great panoramic views of the rest of the realm and Montu.
Now, the elevator part of it, I'm guessing is it happens very often? Is this more expensive?
I'd say it's unique. It's not done in many areas. Now, we do have an example of this vertical lift at our Dorito Advantage ride in SeaWorld San Diego. That's actually inside, but this one we wanted to take that box out and make this an outdoor elevator. Yeah. So it's just a great, fun way to start the ride experience.
It's kind of pretty rare though.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of roller coasters that have this type of experience.
Why did you do that?
think it's just unique. I mean, everybody likes the traditional type of chain lift or incline lift. It does build suspense, right? So we've got the best of both worlds. We've got this great way to start the ride experience, launching you out the snake, and then you also have the incline lift for the final finale.
Oh, yeah.
Now, for the people that don't want to actually experience it, are you going to have benches in other areas where they can sit and watch? I mean, you said, of course, we can stand here and whatnot, but is there going to be, say, seating or even restaurants in this area as well? Or?
Yeah, this ride is super engaging for the non-riders. We've got so many pathways that they can snake their way around. So this pathway that we're staying on right now will actually continue to the left and connect up with our Edge of Africa part of the realm. So we've got lots of areas for guests to enjoy. We'll have benches throughout the realm, and then Egypt as well. We've got some culinary that people can enjoy. We've also got restroom building, view experience. We've got something for everyone in this part of the park. No, we've done it very we've done it very strategically about how close you'll be able to get to the riders, and we'll have strategic areas where we'll have fences or netting to make sure that we've got enough separation that we won't have any issues with news articles or anything like that. But we wanted to get this ride as close to the riders and the non-riders as possible. We wanted that great interaction. You want to feel as you're walking through the realm, you want to feel like you're part of the action of Cobra's Curse. You'll hear people screaming, laughing, smiling, enjoying.
Jeff, I noticed there's guide rails on both towers here. You're running two shuttle systems?
Yes, yeah, there's two shuttle systems. So the way the elevator works is that we've got two vehicles at a time. One will be at the top and one will be at the bottom, and they counterbalance each other. So as one comes up to the top, the other one will come back down to the bottom.
Thank you.
Any other questions?